A question that's been coming up frequently in my readings, at least since this past summer, is are we ever going to get back to normal? Well, there's a saying, history has a way of repeating itself. And in this video, I'm going to take a brief look back at our history and show you that yes, there is light at the end of the tunnel. Hello, I'm Wendy Rapp, spiritual life coach and psychic tarot reader. On this channel, I help you as a spiritually awakened person grow and evolve on your soul's journey. And if you enjoy information like this, hit the subscribe button because I upload a new video every Sunday. I hear people all the time saying we're living in unprecedented times. Well, that's not true. Back in 1918, we had the pandemic of the H1N1 influenza, more commonly known as the Spanish flu. It had been raging in Europe for a while, but the media, especially the wartime censors, we were at the end of the First World War, and the wartime censors, the governments, decided to keep a lid on it, not to put the word out that there's this influenza going around. So it wasn't until Spain's King Alfonso VIII came down with a really bad case of it that the Spanish media began to openly start reporting on it, and that's how the rest of the world found out about it. But it's called the H1N1 and not the Spanish influenza. And actually the first reported case of it was, they say, at a military base in Kansas in the United States in 1918. And back in 1918, when the H1N1 influenza began to take hold in the United States, just like today, various areas and regions lived under different stages of quarantine and different orders regarding wearing a mask. It was very much the way we're doing it today. And just like back then, most people did not want to wear a mask and they did not want to social distance. On November 28th, 1918, there was a notice in the Omaha World Herald that said, "See that Thanksgiving celebrations are restricted as much as possible so as to prevent another flare-up." Does it sound familiar? In New York City, businesses opened on staggering schedules. Schools across the country closed. Libraries, churches, theaters, dance halls, ice cream parlors, restaurants closed down as well. Masks became mandatory, and hospitals became overwhelmed with the patient load and often had to have outdoor tents that they would house the overflow patients in because their hospital system was overwhelmed. The H1N1 pandemic ended in 1920, and that's long before they actually had a vaccine to it. A vaccine didn't come along for that particular strain, I believe, until the 1940s. But the pandemic ended, and restrictions were slowly lifted region by region, and life returned to normal. I suspect it's going to be the same for us today when this pandemic is winding down and coming to its close, and it will. Pandemics and plagues have affected and afflicted this world before we were born, and we're living through one now, but they always end. And we will probably have restrictions for a while, probably longer than we want, but they will be more than likely lifted like layer by layer and region by region, depending on how each region is doing. But remember, the 1920s historically were known for being the Roaring 20s, and the reason for that is once those restrictions lifted and people were able to get back out, they got out and had fun. Restaurants opened, bars opened, theaters and movie houses and dance halls and shopping malls. Well, they didn't have shopping malls back then, but shopping centers. People went out and enjoyed life again. And I'm 60 years old. I have never known the restrictions that I'm now living with. I know these restrictions are going to be temporary, and before you know it, we will be getting back to sports arenas and theaters and concerts and restaurants and doing the things that we used to love doing. It just might take a little longer than we hope, but we will get there. It's going to require some patience, but history has shown us time and time again, these pandemics, these plagues end. And when they end, life returns to normal. And I get it. We're all tired of the restrictions. We're all tired of the inconvenience that it sometimes creates in our lives. I hate wearing the mask just as much as anybody, but I do. I wear it, I mean. Um, there are things, sacrifices that we're going to have to make in order to get to a place where we can have those freedoms back. So just try to hang in there, try to be patient. It isn't going to last forever. We are going to get back to normal. And if you are someone who has been sick with this, know that my prayers are with you, that I hope that you are recovering quickly and fully. And if you're someone who has not yet been, and hopefully never will be, affected by this personally, then please continue doing what you need to do to stay on the path of wellness. If you have any questions or comments about the material today, feel free to leave it in the comment section below. And be careful with the comments you leave with this particular video. Let's be nice. But feel free to leave comments. I do see them. I will reply. And if you'd like to get a reading with me, please feel free to call EarthSpirit. Their number's on the phone. They're in Red Bank, New Jersey. I do readings in person or over the phone. And if you'd like to connect with me on social media, the links for that are below in the description box. As always, remember, you are a spark of the divine, and please do everything in your power to stay well.